Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Millennial Musings, everyone. We are so excited to have you here. I'm Isabella.
I'm Gladys.
And we are your hostesses. And we both just love a good voice note. And there's honestly no limit to how often we will send them to each other or how long they can be. Gladys's personal record is an impressive and disturbing 1 hour and 40 minutes. And after being told many, many times that we should make those voice notes into a podcast, we decided to just go for it and do it. Of course, it's possible that our friends were just joking when they suggested this, in which case they've played themselves and they now have to listen to us every week.
Exactly. So, what can you expect from us? Glad you asked. We're here to talk about everything that we have learned the hard way and everything that we have yet to learn. So, in the next couple of months, we will focus on different themes. Each theme will consist of about 3 or 4 episodes, and we will try to answer different, just life questions. Life questions like, how does moving abroad impact your relationships? How can you set healthy boundaries? Do millennials really not want to work anymore? Can you love your body when it's everyone's worst nightmare? And my personal favorite, men hate them or date them.
And yes, just a quick disclaimer. We are not therapists or life coaches and have no actual criteria to be giving advice whatsoever. We're just 2 millennials who have made a lot of dumb decisions, have a lot of opinions, and we want to tell you what those experiences have taught us. It's very possible that rather than answering these questions, we will create more confusion. But if you join us for the ride, maybe we can figure it out together. And isn't that what life is all about?
I would say so. So, to kick us off and to kick off this thrilling and also slightly terrifying adventure, we thought it would be a good idea to introduce ourselves so that you know who you're listening to. So, Isabella, would you like to go first? Tell the people who you are.
Yes, I'd love to. So, instead of just giving you a rundown as if this is a job interview, I just thought, what are 5 facts that we both thought, what are 5 facts that describe us and describe our characters a little bit? And I will now list them for you. So my first fact, which is kind of the whole episode, but my first fact is that I moved to the UK from Austria. You might not have guessed it if you've seen a picture of me. I don't look like the typical traditional Austrian, but I am. And I'm also mentioning this because I want to address the accent in the room in case there is one. I just don't want anyone to be surprised if I sometimes sound a bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger. But also, I just want to inform people who might not know, because when I moved here, I realized that not everyone knows what language we speak in Austria. Our native language is German. So that would be number 1. Number 2 that I would love to share with you about me is that I love all things spooky and true crime. It was actually true crime that got me into listening to podcasts in the first place. I had no idea about podcasts before. I maybe saw it in some 2000 or 90s movie, but I never listened to them until I found my true crime love. And also, when life gets a bit too hectic, I just like to sit back and watch horror movie because it just reminds me that I actually don't have that many things to be scared about. It takes a bit away from the usual everyday anxiety. And I'm just also a bit of a film geek. And
who would you say, or what would you say is your favorite true crime podcast?
Oh, doing some adverts in the first episode. We're not sponsored. This
not
is
sponsored.
Free.
Not sponsored. No. Without 5 listeners. Not sponsored.
I'm glad you asked because I love to talk about it. So the first ever true crime podcast I listened to, the first ever podcast I listened to was Red Handed, a British, now very successful true crime podcast. It still is one of my favorite podcasts, but at the moment I just vibe the most with Morbid, which is an American podcast. They are just really hilarious. I feel like they're my friends. Whenever they accomplish something, I just feel so proud. Yeah, and they just have a nice and respectful way of telling the stories. Like, it's not pure entertainment. They really go into the facts and they respect the victims and the victims' families.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You recommended these to me as well. And I'm currently on, I think, episode 112 or something of Red Handed. And I think they're on episode 207 or something. So I still have quite a bit to look forward to. But yeah, I love it. I'm
glad you love it. And then moving on to fact number 3. Might sound sad to some judgmental people out there, but reality TV has kind of become part of my personality. I'm obsessed with all things Bravo produces, The Real Housewives, any of them, but my faves are Beverly Hills. I just got into Vanderpump Rules, which is an ex-housewife, actually, LVP, Lisa Vanderpump, and Vanderpump Rules is about her restaurants and her stuff and the drama the stuff has going on. And I recently got in it because, yeah, it's just been all over my social media.
It has been absolutely everywhere. I know Lisa because I watched. Well, as you know, I started watching Beverly Hills. Then they took it off Netflix. I was literally ready to watch the finale of like one of the seasons, and it was gone. And I haven't really continued it, but I did love it as well. It's just a perfect, like, if you just need to unwind and, well,
it winds me up though. At the beginning it was to unwind, and now it's just winding me up. But yeah, it's not just those. I am literally watching anything. I love The Ultimatum. I love Love is Blind. And I love Married at First Sight Australia. Nothing winds me up as much as Australian reality TV, I think. It's just a touch rougher than others. I don't know. But yeah, I love it.
I love some reality. I love me a good reality TV. Well, my favorite. I'm a 90 Day Fiancé gal.
Oh, of course. How could I forget this? I love me some 90 Day
Unparalleled reality TV.
Oh, God, yeah. Probably lost the 5 listeners we had now. Moving on to my 4th fact. How should I say this? Well, it's just, I am all about food. Sounds weird, but it's an ick of mine that if I go for a nice meal with someone and that person orders something, starts eating, and does not have one single reaction to the food, it can be like they find it disgusting. It can be that they love it. It's the best meal they've ever eaten. I just don't find it normal that you experience something and you don't react to it. I do not want to be with people who simply eat for the sake of having energy and getting enough calories in their body to survive. I don't understand it. I mean, I know it's a privileged thing to be in. I'm not even talking about fancy food, but just like my life just surrounds about food. When I go on holiday, it's because I want to experience the food there. Yes. So that's that one.
I agree.
Yeah. Yep. Food is an experience. So you should show some kind of reaction to it, I think. And then one fact that's maybe a bit more, I don't know. How would I describe it? Just a bit more interesting than just food and films, is that I'm all about natural hair and Afro love. After having had like a love-hate relationship with my own hair, I finally got to a point where I'm not just tolerating it, but also embracing it. And I really want to spread that embracement. There will probably be an episode about this topic at some point, so watch out for that if you want to learn more about African hair and the impact it can have on people and just the history of it. But yes, Gladys, do you want to tell us some facts about yourself?
Yes, of course. Okay, so I'm Gladys. I'm 30, which I'm still kind of coping with. I'm getting used to it. Actually, I've been living my best life, so it's fine. It's absolutely fine. Yes. I'm from Belgium originally, and I moved to London in August of 2019. So my first fact is I love books. I love reading. I love buying books. I love the smell of books. I love everything that has anything to do with books. I also have a reading goal every year. Usually it's 50 books, and I'm trying to reach that every year. So far, I've never been successful. I know that this year will be my year, and I know I say that every year, but you'll see. This year will be it. It will happen.
Yes.
Although I also kind of have to say I'm currently 6 books behind, but I will fix that. I read more during the summer months, and I know that for many people that's not the case. I read more during the summer because then usually you have more time off. You travel more, like you spend hours on a plane, on a train.
You might be on a train,
exactly,
on a plane.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well,
You've got time to catch up.
I'll share my results if I'm not too embarrassed at the end of this year. But yeah. Then also, I'm a cat parent, so I have 2 boys, Monty and Styles. They're my whole life. Actually, in 6 days, we're celebrating their 3rd birthday, which
can't believe you've had them for 3 years already.
Can you remember when I wanted to get them and I asked my landlord for permission and everything, and then I got them and they were 8 weeks old, and I sent you a picture of them in that carrier and they were so tiny. Yeah,
they were so
tiny. They're still, some things have changed, some things haven't. They're still little devils, but they're my whole life. So then also one of the things I'm very passionate about is fat liberation. I've always been big, and like many fat people, I've really struggled with fat phobia as well. It's been a very long journey, but I reached a level of self-confidence that I honestly never thought was possible. Honestly, the realization that the problem was never me, it was how society treats fat people, that has honestly changed my life in every possible way. So we will definitely dedicate some episodes to natural hair. We'll also dedicate some topics to this, to fat phobia and fuck diet culture and that kind of thing. So yeah, exactly, self-love in general and what that means to us. So if I'm not reading, I am writing, or at least I try to. I like writing, and my dream is to one day write a book. So unfortunately, as RuPaul would say, I am my own, my inner saboteur is always very present. And my biggest enemy is honestly my own procrastination. So I'm kind of trying to, I'm trying to really get into that habit of like writing every single day. Even if it's just 5 minutes, I think the most important thing with anything is that you just need to do it. Yes. So in the meantime, whilst we're all waiting for my best-selling novel to be published, you can, or to be written, kind of, you can follow my blog. It's by GladysElskens.co.uk. You can find it on Instagram, and so give your girl a follow if you want. And then my last fact is I'm a fangirl. And I mean, I don't mean this it's not in a normal way. I mean, when I like something, whether it's an artist, a TV show, a band, it can be anything, I have zero chill. So it's never a case of like, oh, I like this, I really liked this show, but now it's over, fine, let me just go back to my everyday life. No, I will purchase all the merch I can get my hands on. I will read fan fiction until my eyes go square. It will be on my mind every waking minute. It's especially bad with fictional characters, although I did have a very, very intense couple of years with One Direction.
who hasn't?
Yeah, who didn't have that, exactly. So yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like your fangirling might manifest some things every now and again, like meeting those
Oh, are
people.
you referring to my Christmas miracle?
Oh, I
Oh my
am.
God. Okay. So last year, of course, last summer, Stranger Things season 4 came out. Like every normal person, I think I was obsessed with Eddie Munson. I absolutely
Mhm.
loved him, played by Joseph Quinn. Incredible. And apparently he lives quite close, I would say around the corner from me almost. So I ran into him on Christmas Eve on my way home from Lidl. I looked at absolute.
Thank you,
Oh my God, I
Jesus.
looked at absolute mess. I had 4 of these massive bags from Lidl. And
Oh.
yeah, we had a 10-second conversation. I think he was really, really nice. I didn't want to bother him, but I was also like, okay, I will regret this for the rest of my life if I don't say anything. So I did say something. He was really nice. Those eyes. When that man looked at me, I mean, yeah. It was yeah, I literally just I
It's just
walked away and I
wild.
started sobbing. I don't even don't even know why I was sobbing. It was wild. So yes, that is it, I think, for the introduction. So shall we just get into our first
Yes.
episode?
Let's just get into the first
Yes.
question. So, the first theme of this whole podcast is moving abroad, as we are both 2 expats now living in the UK. And the first question we're going to tackle is the question of, is moving abroad all it's cracked up to be? So, how do you want to do this? Should we just ask each other questions that we can answer?
Yes, why not? Yeah. Okay. So I guess the first question that logically comes to mind is, why did we move to the UK?
I always wanted to move to the UK because when I was 14, 15 and I had dreams, I thought I will be an actress and I will move to the UK and I will go to a drama school. So I kind of always had the plan of moving to the UK for, I guess, my career. This is, by the way, a word I'm not confident saying.
Isabella, you just pronounced it perfectly. I'm so
the first time, probably.
I'm so proud.
Wow.
I literally dropped my notes.
Love this. Love this for me.
This is
okay,
oh my God.
Cool.
Wow.
I'm glad this is recorded. So yeah, that's why I always wanted to move. Well, spoiler, never became an actress, but I studied film in Vienna. And then after my bachelor's decided I am gonna do my master's degree in the UK. And it was also quite an easy decision because I didn't really have any worries at the beginning because both my parents at that time lived in the UK for work. So it was never really an unknown country for me. I kind of visited here all my teenage years. And yeah, so after my bachelor's, I was like, okay, I'm coming. Signed up for my master's degree at uni, which was really close to where my parents lived. And yeah, that's how I got here. What about you?
Okay.
Why did you move?
I moved. Well, so it's kind of similar in that I also very much had that dream of like, oh, the UK, that this, well, specific also for me specifically, London was just this. I don't know. When I was younger, it just seemed like the most perfect place to live in, which I mean, I'm still really happy I live here, but of course, I think as a 14, that's fine. As a 14-year-old, you maybe don't have the most realistic idea, or yeah. But yeah, so I moved because, well, so I moved to London because I just have always wanted to move to London. And everyone who still asks me that question just gets the same answer. I just always knew, even as a young child, even when me and my family would go to London for a weekend, do some Christmas shopping, I just loved it. And I just was always like, okay, one day I will move here. And my family was always like, huh, yeah, sure. But yes, I just knew that I wanted to live here. And then, well, why I did it when I did it, which was in August of 2019, I moved because I'd been living in Antwerp for 5 years, Antwerp, Flanders, in Belgium, and I had been feeling a little bit restless. I was done with uni. I knew that I needed something else. I needed a change of scenery. I was feeling a little bit anxious. Well, I say a little bit. I was feeling increasingly anxious in just, I don't know, just living there, feeling also for me, and this is a very personal thing, and I know that some people love this, but for me, I lived in Antwerp for 5 years. I couldn't leave the house anymore without running into 10 people I knew. And that for me was the biggest sign that I needed to go. Because
I feel you.
I'm a city person. I've always been a city person. And the bigger the city, the more I love it. And I love that idea of like moving to such a massive city like London. And just
the anonymity of
exactly
it as well,
being anonymous, knowing that you can do whatever you want. Nobody knows you, nobody cares. So I felt like, I guess the main thing was I knew that I needed to grow, and I knew that I needed to grow on my own. So that was that was the reason.
Yeah, I feel you with the growing part because when. Like I said, I wasn't worried at all about moving. It was just like, yeah, cool, moving in with my parents, gonna go to uni, gonna be great. But I actually didn't expect to grow as much as I did. But then again, I was 24, so I moved here in September 2018, and I just turned 24, and I'm now soon 29, and I feel like it's just a time in general where we go through a lot of changes. You finish uni, you start job, you maybe move in with a partner, like you go through a lot of things, which I did, but I did it in a different country, which kind of added a layer of extra difficulty to it, because while you do all those things, you also kind of need to navigate and build your new life, which can just make things a bit harder than they have to be. And I do often wonder, if I would have changed in a different way, would I have stayed in Vienna?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So okay, so would you say that it was what you expected in a way, or not at all?
It was not at all what I expected, honestly. Not good or bad, really. I'm going into the struggles a bit later, but I guess what I really didn't expect, like that, was all of that change and growth. And also, I didn't expect to be alone that much. I think that was the biggest surprise for me, because I was like, I'm just going to go to uni. It's going to be great. I'm going to meet people. It's going to be fun. I didn't think about the fact that I need to literally build everything from scratch, like find hobbies, find places I like to go, find people I like to hang out with. And yeah, that was really unexpected. And also, another unexpected thing was that when I think about UK, you think about London, you're like, big city life, blah, blah. But I actually never moved to London because I studied outside of London. My parents, I lived with them in a suburb. So I didn't expect to actually fall in love with all the other parts of the UK. I love London, but like, it's the other things of England that really also keep me here, the other places, the little towns, etc. What about you? Is it what you expected? Was it what you expected?
Well, in many ways, yes. I mean, the one thing I guess I hadn't expected was that I moved in August 2019. I wasn't expecting a global pandemic to hit 6 months later.
Yes.
Apart from that, I think the thing with me as well, and it's interesting that you say that about like realizing that you are by yourself. I lived in Berlin for a year when this was almost 10 years ago, which is wild to think about that. But I kind of knew that in Berlin, I literally had like one friend, and I was fine with that as well. I spent a lot of time by myself, and that's also kind of just the person. That's who I am. I love being by myself. I think you'd struggle to find a person who loves being by themselves and doing things by themselves more than me. I love it. I do everything by myself. It's yeah. So that was kind of my experience in Berlin as well. So I knew that it would be mostly me and that I would have to depend on myself emotionally a lot. So because also I did move completely by myself. I didn't know anyone here. So yeah, so but it was kind of what I expected, because like I said, when I was younger, I had this very unrealistic romantic idea of London, and that it was, like a Bridget Jones movie just every single day. Of course, that's not the case. But I think I was realistic about it especially when I got older and older, and when I started thinking about it in a more serious way. I mean, I spent years on Zoopla and Rightmove and these kinds of websites looking at rent prices, and then I spent years and years also looking at salaries, and then also, well, coming to the very shocking conclusion that rent prices are, specifically in London, of course, are kind of eye-watering, yeah. And that salaries are not necessarily higher than what we're used to, I guess.
Yeah.
So I knew that. Although people still, the amount of people that warned me about this when I said, "Oh, I'm moving to London," and they're like, "Oh, it is expensive, though. It's expensive." I was like, okay, with all due respect, do you really think I don't know this? Do you really think I have absolutely no idea of, like, I had done a lot of research, but I also knew that it was my dream city and it was where I wanted to be. And 4 years later, it's more expensive than ever. Cosy lives, but it's still my dream city. So in many ways, I mean, there's things that you can never really prepare for, I think. I mean, the fact that, for example, in the UK, everyone's boiler's broken. Like, those are things that I never could have predicted. And there are these...
You only know it when you live
and there are these little things that you realize when you... But I think I was as prepared as I could have been, and I kind of had a realistic idea, and I think, yeah, I think so.
Okay, that's good.
Yes.
Very good. I mean, if you've moved abroad before, like you said, to Berlin, you know the main things that you need to focus on, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So, so you said that that in many ways it was not what you expected. So what are some of the things that you struggled with the most?
Yeah, I struggled a lot. I'm not going to lie. And I actually feel it's quite important to say all the things you struggled with when you move abroad, because you tend to live in that bubble of it's a nice movie montage of someone arriving in a new city and everything is bloomy and amazing. First of all, I arrived hungover, which was the worst thing to do anyway, because I had a leaving due the day before, and I tried not to drink too much, but I had some anxiety on that plane. Anyway, first tip, don't do that. Have the leaving due a week before. Anyway, what I really struggled with was, like I said, I came here for my master's, so I started uni here. And I was expecting a big class of students like I was used to in Vienna. But obviously studying there is kind of free, so there's a lot more people doing it. So my class in the UK was only 8 people. It was quite a new path. So I guess not too many people knew about it. It was 8 people, including me, which was great for like the development and for the focus you get from the professors and for projects, and everyone was really lovely. But some guys, or like people that already did their bachelor's degree at that uni, so they had a group of friends there. They didn't really need any new people, or like grow their friend circle. I guess there just wasn't any interest. A guy moved there from, I think, the Netherlands. He moved there with his girlfriend, and they kind of had their own thing going on. They probably knew some people, I don't know. But yeah, outside of projects and classes, I didn't really have a chance to connect with anyone. And the classes were also only like 3-4 times a week for like 90 minutes. So I just ended up sitting at home a lot. And my biggest struggle was that change of lifestyle. Back in Vienna, I had a job, like a part-time job. I had my internship. I had a really social life. I had a friend group. I had my yoga studio. I had projects I worked on, like I volunteered on film festivals, etc. So it was just tough to then just end up sitting in front of the telly all the time and realizing, wow, what am I going to do? Like, it only actually hit me after like a month or two. Actually a few weeks only. Like after the first month, I was like, shit, this is going to be hard. Did I make the wrong decision? Yeah, I guess those were my biggest struggles. How about you? Did you have any besides the pandemic?
Well, the pandemic was definitely the main struggle, because I definitely had that realization as well of like, oh, you really actively need to work on meeting people. And I feel like that is something that's maybe not always talked about enough, is that even when you move to a city like London, there's so many things to do. There's thousands of things to do every day. There's activities for every single, like, no matter what your interests are, there's things to do. However, it can feel lonely, I think, and especially in big cities, maybe. And I'm not someone who feels lonely often. I'm really, like I said, I'm really, really, really okay by myself. I'm fine if I don't see anyone for weeks. That's okay. But I guess, even for me, I guess having the option or knowing that you have people around and you have people in your life, and you have, if there is something that you can call someone and they are there for you and they will help you and they will come over. Yeah, I didn't really have that either. Of course, I met you. we'll get to that. But for a long time, you were literally the only person I considered a friend. And so the thing also as well was, I knew that I was going there that I was going here by myself, that I didn't know anyone. But you do move. I mean, I moved from Belgium, which is a 2-hour train ride away. So you move kind of thinking, okay, people will visit me. I will go there. It's fine. It's no biggie. Of course, I didn't really expect for that option to be taken away from me 6 months in. And so it was, as I moved. And then in I would say the first couple of months, I had friends and family, and they came over. Maybe it was a bit too much at some point. I kind of felt like I was running an Airbnb, but for free. So then as that was kind of slowing down, I was like, okay, I am ready now. I am ready to discover London and see what the city has to offer. And I made all of these plans. I got theatre tickets. I booked tickets to book events. I had so many plans. My calendar was absolutely packed for like February, March, April, those next 3 or 4 months. I think I went to see one play, and then a week later everything kind of went to shit. And I mean, for me, and I know that many people struggled with the pandemic a lot more than me with the social aspect. I mean, because for me it was kind of, in the beginning, it was kind of okay, but I think the main thing for me was the not knowing when I would be able to see basically a familiar face. Because even you, like we lived but you didn't live in London, and we weren't allowed to take public transport at some point. I wasn't allowed to drive at some point. I also, we did break that rule because at some point, listen, I had not seen a familiar face apart from the Sainsbury's staff for like 6 months, and I messaged you and I was like, Isabella, I cannot do this anymore. I need to get in my car right now and drive to you and we will go for a walk, which wasn't really allowed. But I feel like for people who live by themselves, that was absolute torture.
You would have lost your mind. It was 6 months. I mean, for the most independent, being okay with being alone person, that's a
exactly
breaking point.
Yes. And then even, I mean, it's all very subjective and it's all very personal. But then I had friends who were like, oh, and I'm only allowed to see 3 of my friends. And I was like, I mean, I have watched Downton Abbey about 4 times now. I'm ready to leave my flat. So that was definitely a thing, but of course that was challenging for absolutely everyone.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, then I think apart from that, and we'll get into this in next week's episode, but for me, I would say in general, the thing I struggled with the most was, like I said, you move somewhere else, so you need to rebuild your life. But then also a large part of your life is still in that other place. So in my case, my best friends, the people who, my family, the people who are the most important to me, they were still in Belgium. And their lives also go on in many ways without you. And they, like, you won't be, they will make plans and not consider inviting you anymore. And they will do these things, and you will be the last person to find out about news and gossip and all of that. And I think for me that was something I struggled with. I think.
No,
I still do sometimes. So yeah, we'll discuss that next week. But yeah, that was the thing for me. But I would say
Well,
no, go on.
No, I just want to say about the struggle thing. I think because, so you, like you said, you moved in 2019. I moved in 2018. So I had a whole, I don't know, a year and a half before the whole pandemic hit. And it's like, I already felt a bit like I'm in a pandemic at that point. Not in a pandemic, but in quarantine, because it just felt like I'm quarantining because I can't see any people because there was absolutely no one to see. And also I didn't do anything else because I was not used to doing things by myself. Yeah. Like I really just wasn't used to going to town by myself, going for coffee by myself, like just going for a walk. I never went on walks before the pandemic in general, or let's say before I actually moved here, because I started going on walks once I moved here. And
that is ridiculous because you like religiously go for walks every single day now.
I am addicted now. Yes, I am. But like, I just didn't know how to enjoy my own company. I hated being alone. I absolutely hated it. So that was one of the struggles.
I can't relate, but okay.
I just didn't know how to do it. Now I love it. When the pandemic hit in a really horrible way, and I don't mean it that I wanted the pandemic to come, but I felt a bit relieved because I knew other people are now also by themselves and I'm not the only one missing out on life. I know it sounds horrible, but in a weird way, obviously I was stressed about the pandemic and I wish it didn't happen. But it gave me a bit of a relief because I was like, okay, I'm not the only one now just sitting at home being alone. And it gave all the people that were not living in the same country more time to be on the phone and to have like FaceTime sessions with you.
That is very sad.
It's so very sad. But
oh my God, I'm so sorry. Yeah. But that was also a thing. Yeah. So what you said about the friends, because I started really like there were friends of mine and we hadn't really had a video call up until that point. And then at some point we had one every week or so. And then one of my friends was literally like, oh, I just realized that this is what your life has been like, because you live abroad and you don't have any of your friends around. And some of my best friends, because for the first time they were in a position where they couldn't see their best friends whenever they wanted, they realized, oh, that's how you feel because you don't have anyone around. And of course that was my choice. That was my decision. I wanted that. Of course I didn't want to not be able to see anyone at all for 1.5 years. But but like I did not go home for 1.5 years, which, and for many people are in that situation. Of course, if you move across the world, then yes.
Continents.
But again, you don't move away somewhere that's a 2-hour train ride away with that idea of, oh, I won't see them in over a year. So yes, but then of course when everything kind of started to when life kind of got back to, well, let's say normal, then of course everyone kind of got back to their everyday lives as well. But maybe we should discuss this next week.
Yes, let's keep this for the other episodes. But maybe now that we mentioned all the depressing parts of moving abroad, maybe let's bring in some things that lightened everything up little bit. Because I actually didn't just stay in my sad little corner. I tried to change some things. No, you did not.
Yeah.
So I would say, before you even moved here, I obviously didn't know you were entering my life at some point. I was considering, should I move back? Should I stay here? And I decided I'm just at least going to finish my master's degree. I'm happy I had my friends at home because they were still trying to hype me up. So I was like, okay, what should a damsel in distress do? Let's download a dating app.
Because I'm sure that all of that true crime has taught you life only gets better when you meet a man.
Well, luckily I haven't listened to true crime at that point because I didn't have to commute hours and hours on trains to a job before. So there was no true crime in my life. I would have definitely not started online dating if I would have listened to true crime. But no, I downloaded a dating app and was thinking, I'm just going to go on a few dates, like meet new people, learn more about the culture, like meet some locals, Well, that didn't go as planned because I went on exactly one Bumble date, and that was 4.5 years ago, and I live with that person now. We are currently trying to get a dog. Yeah, it wasn't as expected, and I actually met him quite like a month or so in of living in the UK, which obviously we weren't in a relationship right away. He wasn't filling out my time. It was just a nice distraction to like have something to look forward to and be excited about and have this little shimmer of hope. I wasn't planning on meeting someone, but well.
So you met your boyfriend within a month of moving to the UK?
Well, that's when we went on our first date, yes. Yeah, I mean, I met him, but like I said, we maybe saw each other once a week, once every 2 weeks. I wasn't expecting this to go anywhere. Even at the beginning, I just thought, you know how guys are. You meet them, they ghost you ghost them, whatever. So it made me feel better, but it didn't really make me feel amazing about staying either.
Oh, okay.
At that point, obviously. Well, not because he was amazing. He is, obviously. Otherwise, I would still be with him. But you just wouldn't expect that to happen, I guess. So it was a nice distraction at that point, but I was still feeling quite rubbish of not actually having friends because I also really didn't want to just get dependent on one person. I always even once we were official, I always wanted to find my own friends. And that's why I kept struggling because I was so focused on, I want to build my own life. I don't just want it to rely on that one person.
Yes. And then I guess also when, you meet someone, you're still in the early stages of the relationship. He's British, so he has his life and he has his friends. And you probably also don't want to be like, oh, okay, so now you're my one person I have here, so
yeah,
I need to do everything with you. Then
exactly. I was really sure that I want my own life. I don't just want to enter someone else's life, which is why I kept struggling, even though I met him a month in. But yes, so that was one thing that happened. And another thing is that I remembered that a girl who I went to school with when I was like 13, 14, we were really close friends between the age of 13 and 16, actually. And I remembered she actually lives in the UK now. We just lost, the contact just fiddled out. Our friendship just kind of fiddled out because, I don't know, you're 16, you change schools and it happens. And there was nothing, we weren't in a fight or anything, just fiddled out. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to message her on Instagram because why not? She lives here. We know each other. Maybe she needs a friend too. And it was really positive. I'm really glad I did it. We rekindled our friendship. and we've seen each other several times since then. Well, since the first message, basically. And we had sleepovers. It was just really nice knowing that there is a person beside my mom who wants to hang out with me. And yeah, we're still in contact, not as much anymore because she moved now again back. But yeah, that was definitely something I'm glad I have done.
That's
and then
lovely.
yeah.
And that
I would
also
recommend.
shows, yeah, just try it, even if you think, oh, maybe this person
Finds it weird or
doesn't.
whatever. I was
Yeah.
going back and forth, believe me. I was like, isn't it weird if I'm going to do that? But no, and it was fine in the end. Yeah. And then, obviously, another big shimmer of hope was when I started my first job after the first 12 months. We've made it through 12 months, submitted my dissertation, and after a long job search, found one job that took me. And I mean, you know, it was an experience, but it definitely came with a big positive, which was you.
Oh,
It wasn't because it wasn't only nice to just have a full routine, like from Monday to Friday, you've got something to do. I wasn't just sitting at home. I wasn't feeling useless, at least for the first few months. I had to be somewhere, and the weekends felt like weekends again. It was nice to have like a bank holiday. Like you could just appreciate those times again. But I met you, and I don't think you know how big of an impact you had on me feeling even more hopeful about my life in the UK.
oh my God.
Getting all soppy.
That's adorable. That's adorable. But yeah, I felt the same way because I moved when I had a job because I knew that I kind of needed an income. So I started applying for jobs when I was still living in Belgium, which, as I guess most people can relate to this, I guess, but applying for jobs is basically a full-time job in itself. It's so incredibly, it's so draining. And it took me a couple of months, and I was actually kind of getting a little bit desperate almost. And I was considering maybe I shouldn't move and maybe I should just get a job in Belgium. And then that's when this job came along. And we'll get into this as well. The job itself was an absolute nightmare.
It's a story in itself.
It's a story. But yeah, you're the first person I really vibed with. And then I remember we went on this trip to Luxembourg the first week. And so basically we in many ways it kind of felt like we were on holiday together.
Yeah, so the first week of our new job was training in a different country, and we just were all living there in a hotel.
Exactly. So we were staying there. We went for dinner every day, went for lunch every day, and it was really nice. And then I remember on my bus ride home you messaged me and you said something like, oh, I'm really happy we met and I'm looking forward to being colleagues and everything. And I was like, oh my God, I finally met someone that I can see myself being friends with.
Yes. Oh, thank God that happened though. Thank God. Yeah, what else? Oh yeah. So another thing where I met someone was Meetup. It's actually an app I suggest to people who want to meet other people, even if you don't move country, just in general, if you want to meet someone new. Meetup is like a website or an app. You can download it as an app, I think, where you meet like-minded people, I would say. They're like different groups set up by whoever sets them up, I guess. They have several, like, you can find whatever you want. You can find people who love going on walks. You can find people who love playing Dungeons and Dragons. You can find people who love talk about books or films or whatever. You can also set up your own meetup groups, which is what I did because the ones I joined, it just never really, not all groups are actively hosted, so there's not always a consistent schedule of events. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to set up my own. I set up a group for like women between a certain age group and just like meet for coffee or drinks. And then my first meetup, actually, it was, I think, 17 or 19 people, which was hella stressful to plan. I booked a pub and
I would have died, honestly. I don't know how you did it.
honestly, the pub kept asking, "Are you sure this is gonna happen? Are the people gonna come?" And I was like, "Yeah," but I didn't know. They were all strangers. I had no idea if they're gonna
Yeah,
show.
sure. Oh my God. Can you imagine if like one other person showed up and you had this booking?
I know it would have been embarrassing, but thankfully they were all nice women, and they all showed up. And it was just nice meeting people because they all kind of had the same struggles, it turns out, and it was nice to connect about this with others because they just moved like cities inside the UK, but they were like, well, my friends are further away now, so I can't just go on a quick drink with them. So they were happy I founded that group. And also I met one girl. She's also an expat. She still lives in the UK and we are still friends. And that was like my biggest win from that meetup that I set up. So I would definitely recommend this. And during the time, literally up until, I guess, like 2 years ago, well, I don't know, up until COVID and then a bit after COVID or like while things were open again, I joined other meetup groups because one girl took over in the area I live in and set up actually a Facebook group, and she was really organized and there was a lot going on. So I met a few people who I was in contact with for a while, but then they moved again. You know, it's you don't always meet someone you're gonna stick with, but at least there were things going on and I wasn't just sitting at home anymore. So definitely would suggest any kind of apps that aren't just for dating, but like meeting people.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did. Well, recently, a couple months ago, I joined a Dungeons and Dragons meetup group, and then I went there, played Dungeons and Dragons. It's every Saturday. I don't go every Saturday. Actually, I haven't been in a while now. I need to go again. But it is very. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe you're the kind of person who doesn't really have that. But I don't think I've ever been more nervous in my life than the first time I had to walk into that Dungeons and Dragons meetup. It was like
it's such a specific meetup as well. It's not just you go for drinks. It's
no,
like
it's like you go somewhere. There's about 50 people there who all are probably really good at something that you're about to do for the first time. You've never done. Like you don't know if you're probably not good at it. Of course, it's also very specific. Like, yeah, it's a very specific hobby. So you kind of feel like, what will these people be nice?
Yeah.
But it was really, really, really good. And I really loved it. And then I also went on a Bumble BFF date. So for those who are not aware, so Bumble is a dating app. Very quite known in the UK, I would say. Maybe the number one.
It's the one that I used. The one
yes,
Bumble that I went on. Yeah.
So there's also a Bumble BFF version. So then you just meet people, just to make friends. And I did that, and I met one of my friends, Fiona. Shout out. She's from Scotland. She had moved 2 weeks before, I think. So she was just immediately like, okay, let me just go on a Bumble BFF date. We went to a cat cafe. It was perfect. So she's definitely she's one of my closest friends here now. So yes, definitely. There are so many things out there, but you actively need to do it, and you need to put yourself
the
out
effort
there.
in.
Yes, 100%. Don't expect to just go to school or have a job or do whatever and just spontaneously meet a lot of people. Maybe after a while, once you know a couple of people, then of course they will know people, but in the beginning you need to be prepared to actively meet people. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I guess those were just the things we did, right? That's what we did to make our experience more positive. I mean, the other thing is I just changed jobs at some point and met a few more people who I'm still meeting every now and again. And yeah. Oh, the one thing I want to mention is things obviously have gotten better over time. It's great now. There's still days where I'm down, but one thing I had to actually actively also do and focus on is getting unlearning my brain from like that downward spiral of when there was a weekend, even like after 3 years of living here, when things were a lot better, whenever there was a weekend where I'm like, oh, don't have anything to do, everyone else has plans, but I don't have any plans, no one has time, that I immediately went into that thing of everything's horrible. And I felt like in the first 12 months of living here, my brain was just literally used to making. Oh, I hope you don't hear my stomach. I'm hungry. Yeah, my brain.
I did, but I'll pretend I did.
Well, if you all heard it, I will eat something later. Anyway, yeah, I just really had to. My brain was so conditioned to making the worst out of it. I really had to realize that, hey, things are so much better now. You've got friends, you've got a job, you've got a life, you've got your hobbies, you've got the surroundings you need. Like, it just takes time to, I don't know, get used to everything and just be aware of what you do. I think it's important to always be aware of the progress you make so you don't fall back into those old thought patterns, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So to sum everything up, would you say, well, because of course we want to answer the question that we asked in the beginning, the title of the episode, is moving abroad all it's cracked up to be? Would you say it's worth it?
It was a real roller coaster. I'm not going to lie, but it was 100% worth it. And even though all the things that have been said just sound really negative, it's not because it is just a negative experience, but it is, at least from my perspective, something that I wanted to put out there, because when I was struggling, I was literally looking for blog posts, for YouTube videos where people have had a bit of a harder time, I guess, to settle into their new place. But most things were just very positive, and I just needed something to relate to. So that's why I shared mainly the bad sides of it in a way, but it is definitely worth it. I am more confident now than I've ever been, and the UK really has become my home. It's always a bit weird because when I'm in the UK, I say, oh, how about a trip back home in August? And I'm talking about Austria. But then when I'm in Austria, I'm like, oh, can't wait to get back home now in my own comfort zone. So it kind of, both places just have become my home.
I'm exactly the same. Yes.
Yeah.
I do the same thing.
And it's funny, but they both do actually feel like home. And no. So my answer is worth it. You will grow. The growth is worth it. And yeah. How about you? Would you say it's worth it? Is it all that it's cracked up to be?
For me, it will always be a massive yes. But I do think it heavily depends on the kind of person you are. And yes. I think it's important to be honest with yourself about that as well. I think if you're someone who thinks it's really important to, I don't know, have lunch with your parents every weekend, or who thinks that who thinks it's challenging when your friends live in a different city than you, or who struggles being alone for longer periods of time, then I would say if you would move by yourself, definitely think about that and realize that will be the situation. I mean, yeah, just to give some context, you know, I'm from Flanders. Flanders is small, you know. You can, I mean, the time it takes me now to travel to central London is about the time it would take me in Belgium to drive from one city to another city. That's considered far, like two cities that are considered not close, like not, you know. So yeah, it's I mean, of course that depends also where you're moving from and everything, but if you're someone who just would, I don't know, just be yeah, think about it realistically, be prepared. It is intense, and in many ways you will only have yourself to depend on emotionally. Also, of course, if you have people depending on you, like a family or something, then you kind of want to rethink that as well, if it impacts other people as well. And also, I mean, I realize that you need a job most of the time, a place to live, probably realistically some money, because I mean, you know, we've all seen the TV shows and the movies where it's like that dream of like, I have a suitcase, 100 euros in my bank account, and a dream, and I will make it. And then most of the time they do make it. But that scenario, it looks great in movies, but I think for many people it's not really the vibe. And that's something I kind of, even I had, and I mean, I don't know how to say this in a way that doesn't sound horrible, but I need a certain, like, I don't know. For example, I always knew that I didn't want a flat share, which is a big thing, because here in the UK, I would say most people do
have to. They just simply
absolutely
have to. Yeah.
don't have another option. I knew that I didn't want a flat share especially with strangers. I would have maybe if it would have been like a best friend or whatever, but yeah, I didn't know anyone. So I knew that I didn't want a flat share. I also knew that just some things were important to me when it comes to, you know, where you live, how you live, things like that. So then But then I wanted to move to London so badly that I had convinced myself that like, oh no, but I will be okay. I will be okay on a very low salary that can't possibly even like get me a room in a flat with 4 other people. But I'll be fine because I will just live off the feeling of living in London and it will be okay. And I will be absolutely fine if I never get to travel anywhere ever again because I only wanted to travel to London anyway. And like I will be fine with that and I'll just live by it. But yeah, realistically, for me being the person that I am, I think that would have gotten very old very quickly. And of course I know that that's, you know, I in many ways am very privileged that I was even able to do this. I also had some financial support from family, just to be transparent. Like my family helped me, bless them. So I know that also it's just a massive privilege that I was even able to move here. So of course you have to be realistic about it. But I also think if there is even the tiniest spark in you that wants to take that leap and that has always wondered what it's like and you're in a position where you can do it, then 100% do it. Because
give it a go.
Yes, because also it is a big step. It is, but also in many ways it's not. The thing is, nothing is irreversible. You don't have no decision you make apart from maybe having children. that's quite permanent. I've heard. But most decisions, if it's not the right decision, you can make a different decision, and you can. And in this case, moving abroad, you can move back if you realize.
Yes,
not
you do not fail.
It's not back. Absolutely not. If you realize this is not for me, then you
tried it, you figured it out, and you moved back and you learned something, and that was that.
Then you will have definitely learned things as well. Yeah. So that's definitely what I would say. But I think if you want to, if you've always thought about it, 100% do it. Do it. Yeah.
Do it. Cool. And I guess we are at the part where we would want to give some advice. At least I've written a few things down that I would have loved to hear before I have moved, but like I said, I just didn't even think about it. I don't know. I don't think I even bothered watching a YouTube video about it. I only started doing that once I have moved. But anyway,
I watched thousands and thousands of YouTube videos.
I mean, I did after I realized I'm struggling. I didn't think of it before. So here are the tips I would have loved to hear. Well, one thing I think we already make quite clear is your new life will not happen overnight. You need to put effort in and don't give up. Don't give up immediately. You do need to be okay with being by yourself, doing things by yourself. At least start learning being by yourself and enjoy the process, because you might end up like me and you will love a day, a weekend, just completely without having to talk to people. Don't be shy. If you know someone, like I did with my friend, and you haven't spoken to them in years, just reach out anyway. There's only going to be a no as a worst case scenario, and that's not bad as well. And then, just ask people. Even if you meet someone at the office, just ask them to join you for lunch. Just try to make a connection with them. And again, worst thing is no.
Exactly.
And just be ready to feel all the feels. You will have days where everything seems horrible, but that doesn't mean you're failing. It's just part of the journey. Yeah,
perfect. I love that. Yes, I would say, well, exactly like we discussed, you need to be prepared to actively have to rebuild your life. There are so many options to meet people, no matter what you're looking for, what you're into, what your hobbies are, but you need to put yourself out there. You know, I've been here 4 years now, almost 4 years. I've made a handful of friends, I think. For me, that's perfect. I don't need anything else. I don't need more friends. I don't need a bigger friend group. But if you're the kind of person who wants to be surrounded by people all the time and needs a friend group immediately, then you will have to put in the work. So yeah, also, yes, do research about the place you want to move to. Absolutely. Make sure that you have a realistic idea of what is the cost of living like, what are salaries like, but also don't overthink it. And I think I probably did that a little bit. Like I said, I watched thousands of YouTube videos. I looked at every single property that Zoopla had to offer, I think, at some point. I did everything. But still, at the end of the day, there are always things that you will never be prepared for. And at the end of the day, at some point, you just need to do it. It's like getting a tattoo. At some point, you need to do it, and you might regret it at some point. But yeah, don't overthink it.
Yeah.
And then
plan it, but don't overthink.
Yes, definitely. Also, a big one for me, I think, is don't be afraid to outgrow things, places, or people. And that's not necessarily just about moving abroad, but just in general. Sometimes you just need a change, whether that's a different location, whether that's relationships that have grown, that have run their course. Those things happen, and that's part of growing up.
Yes.
And that's what makes life exciting, I guess. And then also my last tip would be, if at all possible, try to not move right before a global pandemic hits. Yes. Especially if you're a massive extrovert. Yeah, if you're a massive extrovert, I would not recommend doing that at all.
Well, that's a nice way to end this.
Oh, did we just record our first episode?
I think we did.
Oh my god.
Well done us. Well done for everyone who actually made it till the end
if,
as well.
If you're still here, thank you.
If you're still here. Oh, thank you. Well,
that's exciting.
Very.
So you guys have heard a little bit about us now. Of course, we want to hear from you as well.
Yes, you can send us messages on our Instagram account, which we will link in our description box, but it is called We Are Millennial Musing, all written together, no space, no underscore, nothing. Follow us, send us a message. If you have moved abroad to a city, country, different country, continent, whatever, let us know about your experience. And yeah, thank you for listening.
Yes.
Thank you for musing with us.
Good. Love that. So we'll be back with, do we share next week's title? Yeah, why not? We've kind of alluded to it already. Yeah. Next week's episode is called Does Moving Abroad Ruin Your Friendships?
Yes, we'll dive into that question a bit.
Yep.
And yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.